Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. I'm honored and privileged to be here. My goal today is to try to accomplish covering about 20 years of home restoration in about 30 minutes, so hang on. I've had coffee and I'm fully percolated. This right here is a photo of my house that we moved. It's a Greek Revival Temple-style house that we moved 4 years ago to save it from demolition, and actually moved into it, and we love it. And so I just have really a heart for preservation. And what I want to do is share with y'all some of the transformations that we've done and ways to integrate architectural salvage to keep it period, keep the character of the house, but also make it livable, contemporary. I'm also a residential realtor here with Sam Winter & Company. And I like to think that my clients have really helped to fund investment back into revitalizing our historic neighborhoods, because everything I earn goes back into doing more old houses. As my wife thinks, I have old house disease. The older the house, the more I love them. So they're just museums to me. So, and I'm also a home builder, so I'm going to share with y'all some current projects I'm currently working on, and then I've got some really exciting new ones later in the year that I'm just over the moon thrilled about. So, what I'm going to start with here, I wanted to share this Mobile by May YouTube thing. I've got a handout here, and it's actually got a QR code for anybody that wants it. We can pass this around, and you can like, subscribe, and share. Basically, it's a podcast. We're just all things Mobile. Mobile history, preservation, Mobile real estate, historic districts, everything like that. And we're certainly open to feedback for anybody that has different ideas of different things that we can cover in the future. I thought it would be kind of fun to kind of have a tactile experience here and share some old Mobile things with y'all. This is actually a wooden block. They used to be called the floating streets of Mobile. And this is a wooden block, and y'all can pass that around. When it would rain, as it did today, the streets would literally float. So what a cool piece. Most people wouldn't like something like that, but it's just right down my alley. I just love all this old stuff. This is actually, we don't know if it's a colonial era cannonball or something used to grind grain, but we found it under an 1850s house, according to the architectural historian. What a cool piece that is. I have shutter straps from an 1830s house. I've got what I call these like Jesus nails. Look at these nails. Look at the size of these square nails from foundries. So really old. This is, back in that time, they didn't have a lot of foundries, so they had to figure out how to build these buildings kind of like Legos, construction sets, where they mortised and a tenon, and that would fit down in a hole. And this is from an 1825 house. We believe is the oldest house in Mobile, and I'm going to try to rebuild this later this year. I'm going to show you all that. And then this is one of the wooden pegs that they use. Can y'all hear me okay? I feel like this thing's going in and out. You feel me? This is a wooden peg that goes through the bracing that holds the houses together. So I just thought this would be kind of neat if y'all want to pass some of that around. I have so many people to thank. My family, my wife's been there through thick and thin with me through all this. My mother.
Who is the saint? How about that?
So my mother, we were Army brats. We moved around the country, and she would tell my dad, "Well, Bill, it's only 2 inches on the map. We can go see this old house." And with 3 boys just drag us around the country. Next thing you know, we're at Appomattox. What happens is you get older, you become your parents, right? So I just love historic homes and everything to do with it. I want to thank Douglas Curley, my architect, and all the different tradespeople that I've worked with through the years. I want to share this.
Steve, tell them that your podcast, it's on YouTube and Spotify. So you would go to YouTube and Spotify.
If you just use that brochure, it'll take you right to it. This is a quote. This encapsulates how I feel about architecture. It's a German philosopher von Goethe. He says architecture is frozen music, and music is liquid architecture. And I just think that's the most beautiful way to explain it, because for those of us that architecture really resonates with, it really kind of evokes a strong sense of emotion. Like for me, every time I look at the front of my house, it's like my favorite song. So it's kind of, so that's something I just want to share with y'all. But those of us architecture lovers, this is my house, and that's Shiloh, my golden retriever. He's the boss. And I see him on the front porch. And one of my favorite scriptures, "Behold, I make old things new again." And I love this photo because when I show you the before we moved this house, show you the dramatic change in it. We actually had an open house with Restore Mobile, which was a nonprofit 4 years ago after we moved it. We kind of raised money to help seed that, to help future projects to save other houses, because we're still tearing down historic homes. As a matter of fact, what a beautiful setting this is, right? There were over 700 of these brick double hall, side hall houses in Mobile. There's 40 left. So congratulations to y'all for preserving this piece of history where we can even talk about this here. Just have some different photos of different, night and stuff. So 2017, I remember we left church one day and my son was like, Dad, are we going back to that house again? I'm like, man, I was obsessed with this house. I just loved it. It's Greek temple style. I just loved it. It was going to be torn down on Tuscaloosa Street near Spring Hill Avenue. So we moved it, and it's really painful when you move a house because you've got to saw off. It was a T-shape, so the main part was in one piece, and we had bedrooms on either side. We had to saw those off. Then you have to move it, attach it, put it back together, right? So you can kind of see the transformation here. And then as we start putting the gable back together, and it has a plaster facade on it too, which is really unusual in Mobile. It's only Georgia Cottage, I think, that has one like that. So I always thought I'd start with my house. These are triple sash windows. You can see 6/6/6. You can pick those up and walk through the windows. It's the only house in Mobile I'm aware of that's 6/6/6. Usually they're 6/9, but for ventilation, for circulation, And actually the shutters have Roman numerals on them that mark. And that's how they used to mark things back in that period of time. So when I stripped them, that's what I found. And then I take different things like church windows, different parts of Mobile. If you see these things here, these are Corinthian capitals to the old post office downtown that was torn down. I mean, this building it was a reproduction of a building in Florence, Italy. It was solid Alabama white marble, which is the finest marble in the world, out of Silicaga. It was hand-carved Corinthian columns, and look at the key to the city, the 13 states and the scales of justice. At that time, the customs house and the post office were one building. So this thing, I just try to save. When I find things like this, I'm like, man, that's museum quality to me. So it's in my house.
What is the significance of the 6/6/6 versus 6/9?
I'm not really sure that there is one.
Keys opening it, or
Probably just to walk out for circulation. I don't know why there's not another one. I'm not sure. This right here, do you see these capitals? These are the ones that I have in my house. So it's like an Italian loggia. See that? It's like an outdoor corridor. You see the post office we have now? The 1960s blonde brick ones?
Yeah.
And this is what we tore down.
Oh.
So that's why I'm so passionate about saving the remnants of what we have left, because look at how gorgeous it was. Mobile was called the Paris of the South.
Yeah.
Before we tore down so many of our beautiful historic buildings. So this is in the front parlor, just trying to show you some different ways to use some of the, we did like a raised bookcase surround, kind of lift your eye up and have a place to display it. They're 13-foot ceilings. And keep in mind, this house was going to be torn down. So everything would have been in a landfill. So this is the kitchen, which is actually the new addition. But what we did was we tried to use and repurpose, reclaim material of things from other buildings. These are jib doors from an old house, so I made those for kitchen island. And then this was actually the ceiling in my dining room, which I couldn't save. And so we sanded it, put it up. We were going to paint it white, but I just loved the patina of that. And so we kept it. Then I hung some ironwork on it. I have different things I like. You do some unconventional things in your house with some design elements. So I love ironwork. I thought it was cool. It looked like musical notes. And then the ceiling is actually from a house that was torn down. It's like shiplap. So my wife's a good sport. You see how it's imperfect? I wanted it to look old. I wanted it to look like it was part of the house. I didn't want everything to look brand new. You have the modern amenities, but you don't have, you've got kind of an open flow, but you want to keep the historic piece. That's what I like trying to do. Even these tiles, I bought these from the History Museum. If you can see those very well from there. The museum was selling the original floor of the Southern Market years ago. And I'm like, it's pretty bad when I have to save the history from the museum. But anyway, I used it over my kitchen sink. Over my stove, just to kind of have something else. Again, I just like the kind of the juxtaposition of the ironwork with the wood. This is a mantle that is very close to the original ones that were actually in my house that were destroyed by the house movers that had to get the bricks out of the chimneys. They took crowbars and destroyed the Egyptian marble mantle. I found another one. I'm going to put that in my front room. So I'm just kind of showing y'all some different projects I've got. This is another church window. I found this in Mississippi. This is from a church in Scotland. Everything has a story, so bear with me. A World War II veteran brought this back after World War II because the Nazis were bombing all these different buildings. They took the windows out and put them underground. Well, after the war, a lot of these buildings were no longer there. So he brought this back home, and nobody would buy it. And I was like, to me, it reminded me of Mardi Gras. But it's very ecumenical, and I love the eye at the top, but it kind of gives you, it allows the light to come in, but it gives me some privacy in my house. So I just love, it's like 10 feet tall. So kind of something a little different to do. Probably my favorite project I've done so far as home restoration. This is, I'm always trading and buying and selling and with different people, old windows and doors. And I met a guy that told me he used to own an old house way down Broad Street years ago that was torn down. I said, was it the O'Donnell place? He said, how did you know about that? Yeah. And I said, man, it was an 1837 Gulf Coast cottage. That's the picture. I said, well, my goodness. He said, well, I still have the front door casing and the front door in a tire shop. So I went and got this thing out of this tire shop. It was a hot mess. There's the door casing in my front yard because we had to open the windows to take it through the window to get it in my hallway to be able to make it my bathroom. See, that's my bathroom casing there. Thing weighs like, I don't know, 400 or 500 pounds to get it in there. And then I had an artist friend that recreated the door. This is the original door, but it's faux bois, it's painted. So that's how they did it back then. It looked like mahogany. And so I have 2 front doors in my house, but that's the end of my bathroom. But it's an 1830s door. I just was thrilled to be able to save that and try to integrate it, into my home. Just like y'all know Charles Phillips. These are Charles Phillips doors. There's the keyhole. Did a bed casing out of old cypress. I've got old doors. These are probably the oldest things I have in the house. I believe these are 10-foot cypress doors from the Tolman house that I got in an estate sale. When I looked in Habs, they are just that style, federal, but they were painted white. But anyway, I want to use those one day for something. In the meantime, they're leaning against the wall. This is my son's bathroom. This was another salvage. This was beadboard that was going to be thrown away. We just kept it rustic. Didn't even paint it. We just put it up kind of crazy. And just kind of funky and cool and something a little bit different. Try to use the old material. This is my old house on Common Street that I lived for 19 years, and I said I would never move. And then when this house happened and we moved it down the street, we just downsized and sold this house. But I love this house. It was amazing. It was originally a Greek Revival cottage, and then in the 1870s they added this gable. And then Cart Blackwell, architectural historian, found this in a pattern book. They ordered the balcony from a pattern book. So, and that's Italianate. So you kind of got a classic Creole cottage, Greek Revival with Italian influence, and then you have some Gothic elements with this spire and these drops. So it's really a cool story, I think, about Mobile and all the different influences we've had through the years, because I'm just always fascinated with being a 300-year-old port city with under 6 flags and all the different influences we've had through all those periods of time that's brought us to today. And one thing I love teaching my son is, history really gives you a sense of place. How did we get here? All this type of thing. This is my first house. This was the original servants' quarters to my house, my first house on Common Street. And it was 320 square feet. It was just a shack. But I started working on this and just became consumed with it and converted it into this. It was an Airbnb called the Original Tiny Houses. As the insurance agent told me, he said, "This is the smallest house I've ever seen." I said, "Well, it'll be the smallest policy you've ever written." He's like, "No, that's not how it works." I'm like, I know how it works. But I even found this Demaloon at an architectural salvage store in Florida and added that and did these faux columns. I just love Greek Revival. I love the symmetry and the classical lines of it. So I kind of formalized it. And then this is the interior. So what happened, the house next to it burned down on Christmas Eve about 15, 16 years ago. And the guy said, "Look, I'm throwing all this stuff away." I said, "Well, do you mind if I use those bricks?" And I made a sidewalk out of bricks. I said, "What about this front door?" I said, "Throw anything you want." So I took the front door off and put it on here, took the aluminum windows out that somebody had put those in here. I took all the walls back to the original wood walls, and I took the mantel, and that's actually a kitchen island. So it's so small that, we had to kind of figure out a way to make it livable with a little tiny bedroom and a little tiny kitchen. And the feedback I got on the Airbnb was, "This is the smallest house." I'm like, "It's called the Original Tiny House." I don't know how much more clear I could be, but it's just beautiful. It's like being in the bottom of a ship hole. The way that sun sets with it glows, that heart pine, and I just love the way that looks. This is a house just finished downtown on North Dearborn Street. This is a double shotgun house, but you can't tell by looking at it. There's actually from the inside, there's another door on this side. And so it's actually a lot older than what we initially thought. I mean, it was in bad shape. And this is what we converted it into. So you can see we've got two, but it does, doesn't it? It's an optical illusion. So you got two front doors, and see that transom was behind that wall. And so it was designed for airflow. It was up off the ground. I think it's 1850s. It's got the original Greek Revival mantels in it. Even the banisters found in the backyard of somebody in Detente that gave them to me from an 1850s house. So we used a lot of different materials in this house to bring it back. And this is the interior.
Oh, wow.
And so had all the original floors, and look at these walls are all original. So it would have been much easier to sheetrock it, but there's about 10 cases of caulk in this house. But it makes it unique. It makes it special, and that's what I like. So you have the central chimney, and then we did bookcases around it. This is actually a door I laid on its side, and this is another door I laid on its side. So I try to use material. See how the paneling here? Instead of trying to recreate paneling, you already have one. If you find a door, you can lay on the side and cut it.
Wait, with the glass, that's the door?
This is a door right here. It's a French door laid on its side.
He
Mm-hmm.
has a door fetish.
I have lots of doors. I want to figure out ways that I can use material to save money and different things like that. So it's really, so originally it was, two shotgun houses. Now we combine it into one single residence where the one side is open and the other side are the bedrooms and baths. This is the house that Parker bought for $1. He spotted me a little bit of money. This was, it's my son. So this is a house down Broad Street on Bay Avenue that was going to be torn down. It's an 1870s Victorian shotgun house. It had all the original tongue and groove walls, ceilings, it had beaded board. It looks like a mess, but I just thought it had such potential that we moved it into Oakley on Elmira Street. And so this is it right before we moved. You have to take the roof off. You have to take the chimneys out. You got to take the foundation. It's a lot. So we moved it into Oakley, and this is what it looks like now. And I sold that one last year. See, it has these tall, you can open the windows and walk out, which is really unusual for a house this small. So it's really a grand little house. And use these shutters. This is, it's, I think it's 1,200. We moved 700 and added 500. But this is what it looked like inside. And look at this.
Wow.
So
Make sure he gets his shots.
this is what we did. See all the tongue and groove walls? And so then I like to add this, I like to bring the outside in and kind of replicate that design where you have, I call it eye candy, where you kind of have something to look at, but it's period, but it doesn't get in your way, and it's kind of architectural interest. Here's another one. Look at this one. This is from the back looking through to the front windows. And so, I was telling somebody earlier, in 20 years, I've never done this. I went through all my pictures before and afters. This is really cool because I've forgotten all this stuff. But I found this, I thought this was neat, just going back and forth looking at the new. But see, if you keep all the original material in the floors, the ceilings, instead of covering it up and tearing it out, you have something that's so unique, which is what I want to preserve.
One of a kind.
Character, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you can close the shutters, and you have such privacy there. It keeps it cool. These floors, I got these from a guy who was going to tear down a shotgun house. And these, remember that house on Gale Street you helped me with? These are the floors. Oh my gosh.
Gorgeous.
I mean, aren't they stunning?
Yeah.
And that would have gone in a trash can. So when I stop and get wood, people often ask me, what are you going to do with it? It has nails in it. I pull the nails out. That's what I do.
Down a nut.
You
I
know?
hope Parker made a profit.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good.
I
Doing
think
pretty good.
he probably is.
This is the oldest shotgun house in Mobile, according to the Historic Development Commission, it's registered anyway. This is an 1855 Greek Revival shotgun house. It's on St. Michael Street. I did this about 6 or 7 years ago. There was a homeless guy living on this front porch, scared the out of me. Walking up there, he came out of nowhere. I'm like, what? But yeah, so this is what it turned out to be. So I went from that to that, and that's the original front door too. Original front door. Mm-hmm. And look at some of these before pictures on this. This is what I fell in love with. This had the original detached kitchen on the back, which you don't find anymore.
No.
They're always torn off
Yeah.
because they had the kitchen separate, so there was a fire when burned the house down. And then they connected this at some point after, later on, so it wouldn't be connected. But I just thought this was an amazing house to save. So this is, my wife likes to say I'm like a pig in mud. I'm just happy as a clown. I mean, this is heaven for me, man. I love these old houses, and what you think about is what they're going to be. You don't think about what they look like. You think about this is what it's going to be, and that vision is what you work toward. That's kind of what keeps me going. This is from the back of it. I mean, it was one of the worst houses in condition-wise I've ever dealt with. This whole back part was just falling apart. Here's the interior. Now, back then, these are 2x6s, true 2-inch by 6-inch ceiling joists. So they were all heart pine. They had the most beautiful grain in this wood. So I was like, man, it's a shame to cover that up. Why don't we put some beadboard sheets on top, do recessed lighting, and show off the repetition of this wood? And so this is what we did. See how we put the white beadboard on top, and then just did the recessed lighting in it, and then I exposed this chimney because I love the chimney, all the brickwork going up, and then so we encapsulate it to kind of trick your eye. It's only 800 square feet, but it feels quite a bit larger just because of the higher ceilings. You see, the mantle is always the tell in these old houses. You can find the original mantle, you can pretty well date the house. So, yeah, that one was just, it had all the original floors underneath, all this stuff. I mean, you wouldn't know it when you walked in.
It's majestic. I love it.
Thank you. And this is one of my favorite projects, this
Yeah.
one. That one turned out really well. This is another house that was going to be torn down on Spring Hill Avenue, just east of Ann Street. It's an 1860s Greek Revival Italianate, and it was just in a bad area, and there was no way that they could save it. So I bought this house for $1 and moved this onto Conti Street. Nobody wanted it. Do y'all remember that commercial about Mikey?
Yeah.
Give it to Mikey, he'll eat anything.
Yes.
Well, I'm like the Mikey of old houses. They're like, give it to Steve, he'll do it. Nobody wanted this house. I'm like, well, let's take it. I had a lot. Let's put it on there. And so we moved it, we put it on steel beams and move it. And I actually sold this to a friend of mine who did a great job. It's a rental now, but he kept the original front door. This balustrade here is so beautiful. It's Italianate, and it's all intact inside. So that was a great addition to the neighborhood. This is one on Caroline Avenue. This is 1016 Caroline Avenue. Whew. This house, we had a ladder that we had put right here in the gable, and we started working on this side, and the whole house collapsed on the gable.
Oh.
I never told Mom about that. But this is a picture the MHDC had after Frederick in '79, and it looked just like that in 2002 when I started working on it. It looked the same. So that's what we turned this into. That's a little blue house there on Caroline Avenue. It's about 600 square feet. I wish I had more pictures of the inside. I have so many photos. I didn't have enough time to do them all. But show you the inside. I took all doors. This is another thing. Made a kitchen island. All these cabinets were door panels. Like if it's a rotten door, you can't keep the top or the bottom. You save part of it. You can make cabinets out of it. This door here, I want you to keep. This is a front door to a house I did on Elmira now. If I find a door I love, I just put a mirror in it and toenail it to the wall and just have something to look at. It's a problem. This is a house on Old Shell Road, 1104 Old Shell Road. Y'all remember when we used to have a newspaper and they had the eyesore of the month?
Oh, yeah.
This was the eyesore of the month. Okay, this thing, termites, rot. Oh my gosh, this thing, worked on this for over a year. And then we converted into this. And I tell you what's so cool about this photo. These shutters are off Mom and Dad's house. Dad got new Cypress shutters. The ones they threw away, I was able to salvage some of them. I cut them down and used them on this house.
We don't throw anything away.
So I save everything. I'm kind of a dumpster diver, but I love to try to save things, but it turned out really well. It's a cute little cottage. This is another one. So I have a business partner who we did 4 houses in Oakley on Elmira Street. And we did 2 shotgun houses, this one, and then we moved that Victorian shotgun next door. This is, I think, 1880s. This was, we took it off. You can see the facade here. And this, look, Mom. But I love the way this turned out.
Do I get money?
So look, we'll have to pass the hat around later. But I mean, how cool is it to take it from that to that? And you see, there's that door. So I had that door for years, so I just had to figure out places to store it, which right now Mom's garage is full of other stuff I have. But I ended up using it at some point, and I use it somewhere. I just love the way this house turned out with the railing. Yeah, it's called Pale Navy. It's a blue. It's a real. I usually don't paint houses that dark, but I like the contrast to bring out the detail, which work made it kind of color pop. This is a vintage photo of the house across the street, 1166 Elmira Street, which I found at the Historic Development Commission, and a shotgun house. And this was during some of the renovation of that. This is the end result. I just sold this again for the second time as a realtor. But it's a little 600-700 square foot house. Kept all of the, look at this. It has all the original beadboard, wainscoting, mantles, ceiling. This is another, floors. All of it's original, but we just made it kind of open. We've got the bedroom back there. And so you've got, a lot of the modern things, but you've got the old and the new, which is kind of a cool blend. And it's really what I want to try to do. I try to keep all the original material I can with the actual house. Here's the little 1166. That's the other picture next door. So there were 4 houses in that little tiny area, and that was an awesome little project. We kind of revitalized that neighborhood. This is one I snuck in. This was on Lee Street. Remember this? I'm just showing you some. I've forgotten about some of these. We never talk about this one. That's one. Did this one on South Jefferson behind the Church's Chicken off Texas Street. This was a bad decision. So if you ever buy a house with a horseshoe that's upside down, all your good luck is gone out. That's what I found out. This was a mess, but yeah, we finished that house. It's actually part of Oakley Historic District. It's just on the other side of Broad Street. And then this is another one I did, another shotgun in Oakley on Savannah, which I love that with the little knockout roses and stuff. So this is the next house I'm going to since we finished Dearborn. This is 355 Regina Avenue. It's an 1896 Victorian. This thing had so many holes in the roof. This is what it looked like when I bought it. I got it a week before it was going to be torn down. So we rebuilt the porch, put a new roof on it, foundation, got all wooden windows back in it, siding, and we're to a point now where it's going to be fun because we've got the hard part done. Now I got to get the trades in there, and that's when things happen fast. It's what it looks like right now. So it's still kind of a sore look, but that's what it's going to look like when we finish it.
You took the wrought iron fence away?
Yeah, that's aluminum.
Oh, it's aluminum?
Yeah. And it had some fabulous antiques in it too. Unfortunately, a lot of them are ruined from the water. But so that's a really cool project. I'm also a home builder, so I work with clients sometimes that are out of town and help them with homes. This is a house on Dolphin Street, which originally we thought was a Queen Anne Victorian, and it turns out this is actually an 1850s Greek revival inside, and it may be actually part of an 1830s Federal on the left-hand side, and then to the right was added on to in the 1940s. So we called this the Gumbo Queen. And it's got a bunch of different architectural elements all working together. This place is just straight up magic inside. I can't tell you the stained glass and all the different things. This is a photo that I took from the reflection in the bird bath. See all the stones and stuff in here? But I just thought it was so cool with the stained glass, the tower, all the different visual interests here in the Victorian period. They were tired of the Greek revival. It's simple and plain. They wanted something very, creative, which I just think that's amazing. It looks like a little castle or something.
Did you sell it?
No, I'm working on this now. Yeah, they own it. This is one of the balconies, like a Romeo and Juliet balcony. I mean, look at that, the way they turn this wood, similar to your place, with that turned wood. It's just really amazing how they do that. Kate Shepherd House. We're having to rebuild the front porch. These are some bricks that we had salvaged, and we had to redo these front stairs. It was raining so bad I tried to cover it with plastic, but I just wanted to kind of see the before and after. And that's why I'm so passionate about saving. I probably have 10,000 Oldfield bricks. But I use them for projects always, so you can never have enough, and you can store them outside in the yard. This is another house I'm working on as a home builder. This is the third oldest house in the city. This home was built in 1827. It's called the Pollard House. It's a French Creole cottage. It has all the original floors in it. It's got the original mantles. I mean, think about our country was only 50 years old when this house was built. It's just amazing.
Where's that one located?
It's 1204 Old Shell Road. You know where North Georgia intersects with Old Shell?
Yeah.
It's right across the street. And it was actually discovered by a historian who, this is what it looked like before. They had built the gables out over the house and hid it. And when they were up in the attic, he found one of the old dormers. That dormer right there was hidden. He said, this is much older. And they researched it, sure enough, 1827. So you have the Tolman house, the Tricentennial house, and this house. And the Bishop Tolman, I think, is 1833. So here's one of the manors, which this house was like a Section 8 rental for 30 years. And look at this manor. It's still, it's a miracle that was saved. I've got two of the original manors in here. This is a project of a lifetime. These are square pegs, which the only way I've ever seen that are square are these from the 1825 house and that from the 1827. They're usually round. But I just find that interesting. And look how that was all hand-hewn with an axe. So, I mean, it's just amazing material. And of course, the cypress is phenomenal. It's resistant to insects and water. So that's why they used all that. So this is the project of a lifetime. This house right here, think about how to explain this. So my house, when I moved, it was connected to a house. This house. It was built in 1825. And the other guy who bought it was going to turn it into a restaurant bar downtown. He's had it on trailers for 4 years. A few months ago, he called me and said, you want it. I'm not going to do anything with it. So I had to take it. It was basically dismantled. I have all the bricks. It's 6 feet off the ground. I've got the window sashes. I've got the cross and Bible doors. I've got the federal mantles. And I'm going to rebuild this, hopefully in Oakley. Here's kind of a rendering of it. You can see, and I've got 5 of these columns, so it'd be easy to replicate it. But it's going to be grand, and I'm just thrilled with this project. This is called a cross and Bible door. Isn't that cool?
It is.
So once you see it, you kind of like, oh, now I see. And so that was just indicative of that period with the original knob on it. So I've got like 4 of those that'll go on the front. And then this is the mantle. See, it's a federal mantle. Got 2 of those that go in there. So this is real history right here. I mean, there's no more of this. This is one of the beams. Look at this thing. It's 29 feet long, cypress, mortised, tinted. It's even bellied out for other cross braces to lay into. And I've got the flooring. I've never seen a house with cypress interior flooring. Everything, the whole house is cypress, and it's all wooden pegs and corner brackets and all this kind of stuff. So this is going to be a real treat. Sometimes with preservation, unfortunately, you encounter homes that are going to be demolished. And I got a tip from a guy a few years ago on a house on Stanton Road. It's an 1830s Greek Revival cottage that was being torn down. I pulled up, the demolition company was there. And anyway, so I gave him some money to be able to save everything that I could. I saved these columns. I saved the doors. I saved all the bricks. This is going to be my workshop in my backyard. I just got it approved through planning and zoning after 4 months. But it's 24 feet by 20 deep, and it's going to be my workshop, and it has the most fabulous cypress wood in here. This is going to, I can't even tell you how excited I am to get started on that one. These are the front doors that I saved. They're 6-panel doors. They were actually interior, but I'm going to make them barn doors on the exterior, and I'm not really quite sure on the color yet I'm going to go with, but that's going to be a great project. And then I just wanted to share with y'all, if y'all ever seen this photo here, this is the old, courthouse right here at Mardi Gras Park, right? So a lot of people have seen this, and if you see that's Mary Ann, it's in the History Museum. This is the back. This is the courthouse. This is the back. This is the jail. The whole park. This is what it was. And this was torn down. Mm-hmm. It's solid granite, and they threw this in the bay.
Who remembers that building?
I mean,
I do. I just published that picture the other
Yeah.
Oh, really?
on Facebook, yes.
so, I collect, I could probably do a whole nother presentation. I've got hundreds of old postcards of old buildings and old houses and old things, but this is why I do what I do, because I want to save what we've got left, so we have a story to tell, and to keep us unique from everywhere else. This is Briarwood. This was like a Roman temple. This was on UMS Wright's campus. It was torn down. But how marvelous would that have been to have kept that?
Yeah.
And then this last one is the Universalist Church downtown. which looks like Charleston to me. What's that called? The quarters there that they have in Charleston, the market. It looks like that. And this was all demolished. And you know, we've lost so many.
Woo.
You know, when they did the interstate, they tore down 16,000 historic buildings.
Yeah.
Most of them were, a lot of them were modest ones. Some of them were magnificent.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all so much. I really appreciate your time today.